There's a strange question that sounds almost like a detective riddle. Why are dinosaur bones almost always found in the ground? Did someone really bury them on purpose? When a huge thigh bone sticks out of a rock, or an entire skull is pulled from sandstone, the thought feels almost natural. It looks far too much like someone's handiwork. As if long ago, someone hid gigantic remains and then vanished without a trace. But the truth is far more interesting. Almost no dead bodies in nature become fossils. They disappear very quickly. Scavengers eat the soft tissues. Predators drag off the bones. The sun dries them out. Rain washes them away. Frost cracks them. Plant roots break even large fragments. After a few years, decades, or centuries, almost nothing may remain of a large animal. To survive for millions of years is not the rule, but extraordinary luck. That is exactly why dinosaur bones are found underground. To survive, the remains had to be sealed off from air, water, teeth, and time as quickly as possible. The best way is to be buried by sediment. A river overflows its banks and covers a carcass with a layer of silt. A mudflow sweeps animals away and immediately seals them in a sticky mass. A volcano throws out ash that settles like a dense blanket. A sandstorm buries the bones. A lake grows shallow. Sediment builds up on the bottom, and the skeleton gradually sinks deeper and deeper. This is not some ancient grave. It is the work of rivers, dust, mud, ash, and sand. Then begins a process that lasts not years, but geological ages. New layers settle on top. The pressure increases. Water saturated with minerals seeps through the rock. The empty spaces inside the bones fill with silica, calcite, and other substances. Sometimes the original bone tissue is partially preserved, but more often it is slowly replaced by minerals. That is how a bone stops being just a bone. It becomes stone that has preserved the shape of ancient life. That is why a paleontologist often lifts from the ground not a fragile skeleton, but a heavy fossil that has survived tens of millions of years. Whole skeletons are rare. Very rare. Usually what is found are individual teeth, vertebrae, ribs, and that too is easy to explain. After death, a body almost never lies still. Scavengers tear it apart. The joints come apart. Water currents carry pieces in different directions. Light bones may end up far from heavy ones. The skull in one place, the tail in another. Sometimes all that remains of an animal is literally a scatter of fragments mixed with branches, pebbles, and the bones of other creatures. But bones know how to tell their story. If the surface is polished and rounded, it means water rolled them around for a long time. If there are grooves and punctures on them, those are the marks of the teeth of predators or scavengers. If a skeleton lies almost complete, and the bones are arranged in the correct anatomical order, then the animal was probably buried quickly, almost at the place where it died. If all the bones are oriented in one direction, a current may have turned them that way. Even the cracks matter. Some appear while the bone is still fresh, others only after fossilization under the pressure of rock. For scientists, this is not just a find. It is a crime scene 70 or 100 million years old. And that is where the myths come from. People see bones neatly hidden in layers of earth and think of deliberate burial. It looks far too much like familiar human experience. We bury our own dead, and the brain automatically projects that logic into the deep past. Besides, some discoveries really do look mysterious. A skeleton may lie curled up. Several animals may end up side by side. An entire graveyard of bones may stretch for hundreds of meters. At first glance, it seems as if there was a ritual here, a trap or someone's design. But paleontologists know how to distinguish fantasy from the traces of nature. They study the rock around the bones, the size of sand grains, the direction of ancient currents, the chemical composition of minerals, the position of every fragment. Sometimes it turns out the animals were swept away at a watering hole by a sudden flood. Sometimes a herd died in a drought by a drying lake. Sometimes the bodies were covered by ash after an eruption. And sometimes a predator simply returned to the same place again and again, and a scatter of gnawed bones accumulated there. Famous discoveries often tell not of a peaceful death, but of catastrophe, hunger, flood, or suffocating ash. And here is the main answer. Dinosaur bones really were buried, but not by the hands of an intelligent being. They were buried by the earth itself, slowly, layer by layer, sometimes instantly during a disaster, sometimes gradually at the bottom of a river or lake. Then it compressed them under thick strata, soaked them with minerals, turned them to stone, and hid them until the day when wind, rain, and the work of scientists would bring them back into the light. This is not an ancient conspiracy. It is something far more powerful. The planet itself knows how to bury its giants.